Good.
All right, we're live.
Hey, what's going on, Buckeye Nation? What's happening? We got Rob. We got the Brady Bunch. But this time on our channel, what is happening? This is a weird world we live in. Buckeyes Battle Cry are friends with team rivalry, Big Ten team rivalry. Cliff, Mac, how you doing today? We'd love to have you on. Thanks for having us all the weeks on the Pigskin Showdown. If you've not seen it, check it out. But Cliff, introduce yourself first. You're the elder statesman.
Ooh.
Wow. Okay, that's just ageism.
My fellow football fans.
Cliff is Mac's the judge.
So yeah, it's great to be on the show. Finally, get to be on your guys' side. This will be cool. This will be fun. I'll really enjoy it, I'm sure. Social stuff for me. If you want to look for me over there on X, I am right there at Dog Team Rivalry, and then on YouTube, you can find us at youtube.com/@Team Rivalry. Yeah, like you said, you guys have been on our show so many times, and it's been awesome. You guys have just done some great picks and some great breakdowns, and it's been really fantastic to learn from you guys this past season. And I'm really looking forward to be the one answering some questions. This will be cool.
Gotcha. Mac, how are you doing tonight? How's your week been? And are you ready for Thanksgiving? And what is on your plate?
What is on my plate? First off, is my video like working? Because it just
Seems
all of a sudden
it's
frozen. Sweet. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna figure out how to fix that while I talk here. So yeah, it's the week of the game. It's a big game, obviously. You know, it's the game. Anyway, yeah, what's on my plate? Probably some turkey, hopefully some mashed potatoes. I don't know if Mom's making spaghetti this year, Dad. Did she make the noodles?
Noodles, yeah, we got noodles, man.
Not if M&M's coming over.
The noodles, who's coming over?
Not if M&M's coming over. Mom's spaghetti will be everywhere.
Oh, that's a really good point. Yeah, we don't want that. He can probably not come if he doesn't want to come.
We're getting there. Cliff, what's on your plate? What has to be on Cliff's plate at Thanksgiving meal?
Oh, those noodles. Tammy has been making these noodles. It's a family recipe that's been handed down from her grandma. And these noodles are a hit. Homemade,
they're good.
Just awesome noodles.
They're very good.
And I like turkey. I like stuffing. I like mashed potatoes. I like all that regular stuff. Not too hot on the what is that stuff that comes in the can? The cranberry sauce?
Yeah. Not a fan. Not a fan.
Not a fan. Or the beets. Not a fan of that either.
Oh no.
Yeah. Oh, you know what else I do? I like green bean casserole. That's good stuff.
That's my mom's specialty.
Yeah, Rochelle makes a killer green bean casserole. I think she's making, because we're doing big family Thanksgiving on Thanksgiving Day, and then her family Thanksgiving on Friday, and then she's making us a special little Thanksgiving dinner, just the two of us. And that's my favorite one because she kills it every time. She could easily work in a restaurant.
She's a fantastic cook, yeah.
Well,
it's crazy.
You said she hooks you up every game day. Is that correct with food?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
dude.
I mean, this season not as much because I've missed more games this year than I normally do. The record has a little bit to do with that. But yeah, I mean, she always brings me like some buffalo wings that she cooks up in the air fryer and stuff like that. She's got some special seasoning that she does with them. She makes some dips and stuff like that. Brings me a beer already open. That's what I'm talking about, guys.
Dude, frothy.
Yes. Oh, she knows how to pour a beer.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm married way out of my league. It's crazy.
The tilt.
You got to do the tilt.
Yeah. The tilt.
Nice and slow.
Exactly. That's a good. Wow. I'm gonna get on some dating apps after we're done, so I can find one for myself, and so I can make her whatever her favorite dish is, maybe someday.
There you go. Tinder. I highly recommend it. It works about once every 1 million times.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Hey, what? Never mind. Hey Rob,
What's up?
Yeah, man. What's on your Thanksgiving plate? And have you had a pizza recently with fam? Coming to town.
Had what? Pizza?
Yeah, pizza. And what's on your Thanksgiving plate that you must have?
Man, what's on my plate? Of course, obviously, turkey drenched in a lot of. I love the gravy on there. Green beans. And of course, for dessert, cheesecake. That is a must. And my mom's famous chocolate chip cookies.
Whoa. Whoa.
That's a must. That's a must. And rolls of butter and you guys are gonna hate me for saying this. You guys are gonna be taken aback, but I do not like mashed potatoes.
Oh,
That's
All
just
right.
incorrect.
You need to move to California with me because that's on Midwestern.
Yeah.
That's
But
yeah, it is.
I
You are
made dinner.
banished.
Yeah, I made dinner for the family tonight though.
Respect, bro. Respect.
Nice.
I made this thing
quarter
called
Irish, so I have to eat potatoes.
Now,
they're called cracked chicken tenders. What I did is I put I put mayonnaise and ranch seasoning, onion powder, garlic powder, and grated Parmesan cheese, coated the chicken tenders in there, and then I dredged them in Ritz cracker
Okay.
crumbles.
so when's your doctor visit then?
It was really good. It was really good. And then I made my awesome fries.
Those are good. Those are elite.
Fries with slices of cheddar and Swiss cheese, and then bacon bits on top, and you put those in the oven. Really good.
All right, I'm
Hungry.
hungry, guys. Yeah. I'm like,
Hey,
"Ah."
let's all meet in West Michigan or Lansing. No, not Lansing. No, Jackson. We'll meet in Jackson.
There we go. There we go.
And we'll
can
get
deal
some
with that.
food. We'll get some food. Or
should do that.
Kazoo. We could go to Kazoo sometime.
Yep.
I'd be Kalamazoo.
I might
That's
be
some
moving
cool-
to Grand Rapids, real talk, but we'll see. We'll see.
Nice. Okay.
Rob doesn't even know that yet.
Oh,
Ah, man.
Anyway,
hey Rob, guess what?
by the way, yeah, man. Yeah, that'd be fun. But anyway, on my plate, I have to have cheesy potatoes. Have to.
I mean, yeah.
I got to make them though.
Yep.
Nobody else can make that junk, except like a million other Americans. And then sweet potato casserole is a must with the yams in a can, though, not the regular sweet potato. Healthy? What? We're not going for healthy. Get out of here. And then for the pie, okay, now Rob just changed my opinion on life, basically, with the cheesecake elite power move right there.
Okay.
But if I was going to pick, my favorite pie is strawberry rhubarb.
Wow.
It's elite.
That's like out of left field, even.
It's
like
not Thanksgiving.
I mean, but it's so unique. Like that's awesome. Like I'm over
Love it.
here, like yeah, obviously pumpkin and pecan and apple. What I mean, but
I
that's
like
so,
sweet potato
like-
pie.
Okay,
Yes. Yes.
My wife
Yes.
likes- I'm
yeah.
a blueberry pie guy.
Blueberry is my second.
I just like
With French vanilla ice cream, bro. French vanilla.
Oh yeah.
Aren't
yeah.
you guys?
All right.
Make me
Ohio State,
hungry.
Michigan.
Football
What you got, Rob? Fire away, brother.
What do I got? Let me you go first, Peter. Let me
I'll
put
fire the
let me-
first one. Okay. Michigan. I hate to bring this up. In fact, it makes me want to, Michigan 2023 national champions. And
Go blue.
how does that affect your approach to the 2024 Ohio State Michigan game?
Dad, you want to go first?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Would you say how does it affect our approach?
Do you care if you lose? Is what I'm asking.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank
okay.
God.
So here's for me. It's yes. I care if we lose, but and I can't quite explain it because it's been so. My history with this game is that so when Harbaugh came in and everybody said Harbaugh is the savior of the Michigan program, and for that first couple of years I was digging it. I thought it was great. And then when we got to, it was just year after year of hype. And then we didn't get the Big Ten. We didn't get into the playoffs. We were having decent seasons, but not going anywhere. And so I finally got tired of the hype. And I remember telling Mac back in, I think it was after the 2020 season.
Yeah.
And I told Mac that, I didn't really have any hopes for Michigan that coming year, that, I'm still going to watch the games, still going to root for my team, but I just really didn't care. And then they win their first game, they win their second game, they win the next game. They just kept winning and winning and winning. And then finally, Mac and I are at that 2021 Ohio State game, and it was just fantastic. And right back in it. And it was so. Then after that, of course, now we have to win. Now I'm like, this has got to happen. We've got to repeat on the Big Ten. We've got to get to the playoffs. And then of course we had the couple of disappointing showings in the playoffs. Actually, did we make it to the playoffs in 21?
21
Yeah,
and then
Georgia.
22.
Yeah, because we
Face
lost
to-
to ECU and then to Georgia.
Yep.
Yeah.
Other way around. But
Other
yeah.
way around.
And then TCU. Okay. So after the 22 season, I'm like totally on the hype train. We've got to get to the national championship. And then obviously 23 was that dream season. And we beat Michigan State. We beat Ohio State for the third time. We beat the Big Ten for the third time. We get to the playoffs. We win the first round of the playoffs. And then we win the national championship. Well, we beat Alabama in the Rose Bowl.
That gone it. You did.
That was just fantastic. I mean, Mac and I, we called each other after that game like, man, they freaking did it.
My phone call with my dad went a little differently.
Okay. But then we win the national championship, and it's like everything came together, and it was just this magical 3 seasons that this year, when what was that first game was against Arkansas State, and Michigan just looked anemic. We're kind of like, all right. Well, this is how this season's going to go. And that's when we started to realize that what we were told in the offseason was reminiscent of what Harbaugh did. We got a lot of hype and not a lot of show. And so now, so what redeems the whole season then is beating Michigan State.
Yeah.
If Ohio State beats us, it's like, yeah, you guys have a fantastic team. You always have a fantastic team. If we lose to Ohio State, at least we lost to a really good team.
Yeah.
You lose to Michigan State, and it's like losing to your little brother. It really is.
Mike Hart said it best. But now let me ask this. This is the same question, but asked a little bit differently. What if it's my prediction? And I won't give it yet, but what if it's bad? I mean, what if it's bad on Saturday?
If it's bad, then I think that there really needs to be some serious changes. That I think whatever happened last week with Northwestern, I think there's a lot you can look at that and go, they've figured something out. They're moving forward. This is something they can build on. If they play Ohio State and it's a shutout or a 4-score game or a 3-score game, then I think the whole season is essentially a mirage. And yeah, I think there's some drastic changes that need to be made. And we do have a really good recruiting class coming in, it sounds like. So there's that. But you can have the best recruiting class in the world. If you don't have the coaches to train them, it's just a waste of talent.
No, I got you. Rob, you got a question? I can fire another one if you need me to.
What question did I? I'm trying to pull up my questions.
Yeah.
You brought up the really good recruiting class, and the big thing I see is the dollar sign. So here's my questions. Should Michigan fans still be calling Ohio State mercenary U after spending $12 million on one player?
Your turn, Mac.
Yeah, because it's awesome. Why wouldn't you want to be called mercenary U? That's so badass, dude. Like, I get that Michigan fans are saying, like, okay, I've got my own opinions here, and I'm probably going to be looked at as like the black sheep of Michigan football fandom because I'm over here, like, I'm giving Ohio State their due. Like, you guys are great this year. Will Howard is a far better quarterback than I thought he was going to be. I thought he was going to be, who was the other guy? See, I can't even remember his name. I thought he was just going to be another one of those guys. McCord. There we go. Yeah, I thought he was going to be another Honda McCord. So, but he's not. He's so much better than Kyle McCord. I shouldn't say Honda. That was mean. But yeah, I mean, you guys are good. You guys are really good. You guys are on a mission. Ryan Day looks like he's figured something out. I'm glad that Chip Kelly's working out. I'm glad that Jim Knowles has finally figured something out. Well, not finally, but his defense is looking a lot better too. And it looks like, you guys have the culture and the players to take it all the way this year. Are you going to? I don't know. I mean, Oregon looks pretty good. I mean, there's some, true. Yeah, and there are some Ohio State games I saw this year that, things looked a little shaky. Maybe if you catch them at a bad time or something like that, something strange could happen. If Michigan gets blown out this weekend, I'm over here like, it's not that I don't care, because I do. I want Michigan to win. I want Michigan to always win this game for sure, but it's just Ohio State's just that better of a team this year. That's just how the cards fell this year. That's fine. That's how things are going to be. We finally got our national championship. Ohio State has had a much better run in the 2000s, than Michigan has, and that's okay. We had the 80s and the 90s. You guys can have the 2000s. We'll take the 2020s and 30s or something. I don't know. So you guys can have your win. That's fine. We got Bryce Underwood coming back. We got Andrew Babaloa come back. I understand the price tag. I don't love it either. I work in marketing. Okay. I work in the most morally gray industry on the planet outside of prostitution. Like I don't like money is
I don't think
like,
that one qualifies as gray. I think there's
no, that's not gray.
definite
That's
problem.
yeah, there's an issue there for sure. That joke didn't land.
I gotta go.
Like, but like I don't care about the money. I'm just over here. If Michigan needs to pay recruits, everybody's paying recruits now. That's where the game is going, and everybody can clutch their pearls and be like, oh, Ohio State spent $20 million on their roster. Michigan spent $12 million on one player. Guys, next year somebody's going to get paid $20 million for one player. Like that's going to happen. That's going to happen. So I don't understand why we're complaining about this. And with Ohio State being called mercenary U, if a Michigan fan says that negatively, they shouldn't because it's awesome. But
I never thought of it that way.
Well, this is, and I'm quoting those on. I don't know if you guys have MGO blog accounts. I'm quoting those on MGO blog. They said Ohio State is mercenary U. All their players are miserable. They don't actually want to play for Ohio State. They're just coming for the bag. And just like I saw the complete opposite on Saturday when they were just having a good time on the sideline, taking care of business against a good Indiana team. So it's that's just like where I was coming from. And also, it's just like good amount of Michigan fans. We're talking about NIL like it's the worst thing. Ohio State paid $20 million for the roster, and all of a sudden, NIL is the greatest thing ever. We do it better than anyone else. That's
got better than us.
That's just where I was coming from. It just seems like, God forbid another team does it, but as soon as Michigan does it, all is well in the world,
Well, and what's funny too, and maybe it's either hypocritical or it's naive. It's one or the other. But the whole time that you had fans saying that Ohio State is mercenary U because they're dropping $20 million on the team, you had Michigan pundits, and I'm talking about the higher level guys were even saying that the whole time they were saying that Ohio State was mercenary U, they were saying Michigan has to get their NIL game together. So they're calling you guys mercenary U at the same time everybody else wants to be mercenary U.
You make a good point.
And I think that at some point there's even got to be a change in how fandom works, because we're no longer, college football is no longer that regional sport. It's no longer the Big Ten is, in the Midwest, Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois. It's not that region anymore. Now we're across the country, but now it's about how much money you can make. And I can't blame the kids, because I was one of the guys who was all in favor of the kids getting some of that cut from the schools and from the networks, because the networks are literally making billions off of college football. And sometimes these guys are getting career-ending injuries. And then not only do they not play football anymore, in a lot of cases, they can't even go to school anymore. So it made sense to me that they were going to get paid. I didn't think it was going to get the doors blown off of it like it has. But I think at some point fandom has to change, because we never talk about, in fact, like when now I'm going to forget his name. Who is the Lions quarterback before Goff?
Stafford.
Stafford.
Yeah.
So Stafford was paid $160 million to play for the Lions. And we were all like, yeah, because that was awesome. Like, we could pay $160 million for a quarterback. So why is it a big deal if the college players are making money, other than we're so used to college football being about the team rather than the corporation, which is what it's turning into. And I think at some point we just have to deal with that. The numbers for Bryce Underwood, though, and I think it's still a rumor. I don't know if that 12 million has been confirmed, because I've heard 12 million and 13 million and 14 million.
I've heard 10.5,
10 million.
10.5.
I know it's 12 million over 3-4 years.
Okay, that's what I was just going to say. That
Yeah.
I'd heard that they were spreading it out over 4 years as an incentive to keep him at Michigan, so he didn't, take $10 million and then go to Ohio State next year.
Yeah, right. Well, or like Bama or wherever else he was considering going, LSU. Like.
Mhm.
But so kind of piggybacking off, you're going to get this great recruiting class, got Bryce Underwood.
Lola.
What coaching changes need to be made in order for it to work?
At Michigan in particular?
Yeah, at Michigan, what coaching changes need to be changed in order for this NIL experiment to work? Because this is the first time that, Michigan has this money can. They finally figured out they have it all together. I expect other schools to follow suit eventually.
Oh, yeah.
But what coaching changes do you need to be made in order to complement all these players coming in from NIL?
So I'm going to contradict myself because I've been saying that I think I started off, I think it was week 6 or 7. I finally just said, all right, I think that there's a case that Kurt Campbell and Wink Martindale both need to go at season's end. I then started to shift that to, I think Wink Martindale might actually have earned himself another year, and
okay,
but that Kurt Campbell needs to go. I'm now at the point after
game.
What?
With the Northwestern game, you think he earned another year?
Well, so after the Northwestern game, now I'm thinking that they both should get one more year. And the reason is because, I mean, look, Wink Martindale, his defense, I think, despite the injuries, despite Will Johnson, being out with turf toe, is a business decision. His defenses have played really well, honestly. I mean, they haven't looked bad. I mean, we went to the fourth quarter against Oregon. It really wasn't that bad. I mean, there were a lot of really good things done against Texas. I think depending on how the Ohio State game goes, I know, Ohio State's on a mission. I'm not going to take this game as indicative of whether or not they should stay or go, because Ryan Day, I think, is probably selling his soul and performing a couple of seances to try and win this game. So, so I'm not going to blame them. I understand. I think that Northwestern game showed you that there's a proof of concept. I said this for our Voice of College Football video. There's a proof of concept there with what Michigan is doing on offense and defense right now. Wink Martindale's defensive adjustments over the past couple of weeks to the college game have been very good. I think that Northwestern game was obviously the best. It's Northwestern. I get it. But I mean, you even look at Michigan State. Like Michigan State, I understand, is all over the place. They're very up and down. But Michigan State was inside the 10-yard line twice and didn't score a touchdown either time. I mean, they scored a touchdown other times, but that first drive where they marched all the way down to the goal line and Michigan got the stand, made them miss the field goal, and then Sparty. I think there was one more trip that they didn't score on. But anyway, point being, I feel like the defense has really come a long way these last couple of weeks. Kurt Campbell is kind of the enigma, because you've got some weeks, or most weeks, where Michigan's offense just can't do anything. And then all of a sudden a 50-burger against Northwestern? And I get it. Again, it's Northwestern. I understand. But they played Arkansas State. They played Fresno State. I mean, they're not exactly Fresno State is stronger. But I mean, where was the 50-burger earlier in the season? So to me, it's just like, did they figure something out? Is Kurt Campbell starting to understand something? To me, it's Davis Warren was always the answer at quarterback. He never should have been pulled. And I think if that's the case, if he wasn't pulled against Illinois and Washington, I think that's 2 more wins. I think Michigan is sitting at 8 wins right now, or 7 or 8 wins right now. Give or take, I think. But if we're at 8 wins right now, then I mean, it's a completely different conversation then. At that point, you're like, okay, well, we lost to Oregon, we lost to Texas, we're probably going to lose to Ohio State. Yeah, I mean, 8-4, 9-3, that makes sense. It sucks because we wanted to go back to the playoffs. That's obviously not going to happen. That probably wouldn't happen with a 9-3 season either. But that's definitely that's an easier pill to swallow. And then going into next year, you can say like, yeah, Kurt Campbell, you can stay. Wink Martindale, you can stay. I honestly think Davis Warren is the Davis Warren not being at quarterback for Washington and Illinois is why Michigan lost those games. And if that's true, then that means Kurt Campbell and Wink Martindale were not actually the issue. This was a player issue. Well, actually, he was the issue for pulling Davis Warren, but
I'm gonna have some pushback on that.
Do it.
I don't think you can use Northwestern as an eye test. They're a 4-6 team. They probably gave up 50-6. It sounds like they gave up. I mean, that is the most points that Michigan put up all season. That's great. But it's exciting. It's good for what the program is doing now. But in terms of like saying that, remember how I talked about don't let these shiny things get in the way of the bigger picture? I just feel like that's another shiny thing rather than just like, let me give you an example. The O-line looks good. Even though they look good, I'm still in the back of my mind, I want Justin Fry out of town because his recruiting sucks. And it's because of him that the O-line is very thin. So even though they're the developments there, it's unacceptable that we were having this much panic with the O-line just because a player goes down or so. So no matter how the season goes, I think Justin Fry should still be gone. But
Justin Fry's been there a while, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean he has, and that's what I'm saying. I'm not going to let this one thing get in the way of the bigger picture. Is Justin Fry the long-term past 3-year solution to our O-line? And the thing is, like, Kurt Campbell, yeah, he may have called a good game against Northwestern, but looking at the bigger picture, is he the long-term answer? You get what I'm saying?
Peter, I think you're on mute.
I want to see how both of them do versus Ohio State. My fault.
No, sorry, Peter. I completely agree that Wink Martindale has earned another year. I do like how the defense has played the last like 3 or 4 games. He has definitely kept his job, but I don't know. I just feel like the rule of thumb for me is if your coach is not doing what they're supposed to be doing and there's a better one available, why not?
And there is.
Well, the pushback I would give, if the question is whether or not, if Kurt Campbell leaves, do we get Lincoln Riley? Then yeah, bye Kirk, bring on Lincoln. Like that's good with me, right? But assuming that Lincoln Riley is not coming to Michigan, Kurt Campbell in my book gets another year because he's only been OC for 1 year. And this happens to be the 1 year that, let's be honest, the what do you call it? The thing that you put dishes in the kitchen.
Dishwasher?
Cupboard. The cupboards are bare. Lord have mercy. I'm tired. I'm detoxing from caffeine this week, guys. So I'm sorry.
Whoa, good call.
I guess. I don't know.
But go on. I'm sorry. Go on.
Well, I was just gonna say, it's his first year. This happens to be the year where the cupboards are bare. The roster, I think that whole issue was because Harbaugh and company sold out for 2023. I think that they didn't have a plan for 2024 because I think Harbaugh was probably gone in his mind. He was like, all right, I'm going to be gone after we win the Natty anyway. So I just want to deliver this school a national championship. Yep. That's what we're going to do. That's why the roster is the way that it is right now. And it's not bad. It's just, you've got a nasty combination of a young roster, inexperienced roster, especially on offense, especially on the offensive line and at quarterback, along with a brand new offensive coordinator and a brand new head coach. So it wasn't a great mix, but these last couple of weeks have shown quite a bit of promise.
Okay.
But that's, well, you talk about the young team, and that's where I got thrown off too by, we talk about, Sharon Moore and the team and that sort of hyping it up preseason, and that didn't come out. But then you also had Phil Steele, who, he's top end. He's got, 40 years of a record to go off of. And he had Michigan as what, like the 130th like, so you have your number one team, I think is I think Oregon and Ohio State have the most experienced players, and then Michigan was down about 130 as far as experience goes, but he still had them going to the playoffs. So there's some kind of weird disconnect that happened, and like Wolvergeek there in the chat saying that Kurt Campbell is not the answer, it was never the answer. That's what's bizarre to me, is that these guys were supposed to be coached up, because Kurt Campbell was the associate under Sharon Moore last year, right?
Yeah, he wasn't he the quarterbacks coach after Wise had his ordeal or whatever FBI thing happened to him. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever happened with that was weird. But yeah, he was the quarterbacks coach last year.
So yeah, I mean he should be better than what he is. So there's some weird disconnect this year, and I think that's kind of what throws me off this year. Maybe why still like in that national championship afterglow.
Yeah.
We're riding the season out, and hopefully it gets better next year.
Wolvergeek in the comments, he disagrees. He says Kurt Campbell was never the answer.
Yeah.
You know, I will say I'm not expecting this to be a blowout. I'm respecting this game. It's the rivalry, the biggest rivalry in all of college football. It's a big game. Peter, I was telling them that I think that it's going to be close all the way up to the fourth quarter. Ohio State's going to be by a score, but then they're gonna pull away. I have them winning by 2 scores and a field goal. So I think Michigan's defensive line, their front, is going to keep them in this game, like all the other games that they did.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think that's what Mac was saying.
You got to respect it, man.
Minute video that it's the defense that's going to keep them in the game, or it has to.
Yeah, I think Michigan's defensive line. So the way I see it is that if Michigan's defensive line can get pressure on Will Howard, then it's a game. And if not, then I think Ohio State, I don't think that Ohio State actually wants to score that many points. I think that they probably want to put up somewhere around 30 and then let their defense do the rest of the work. I think that Ryan Day, actually, Ohio State kind of looks like Michigan from last year, to be totally honest with you. I just feel like the way that they're holding on to the ball, the way I think they sling it around a little bit more than Michigan did last year, but you know, they hold on to the ball really well. They're very efficient. They're really good in the red zone. They definitely like to score touchdowns rather than field goals, and they do a very good job of that. But what I think is interesting is that type of offense relies on a really strong running game. And obviously a running game relies on a strong offensive line. And if there's any chance that Michigan's defensive line can disrupt that offensive line and disrupt that running game, then, you know, Will Howard is more than capable of picking up first downs by himself. I mean, Ohio State has a plethora of weapons for sure, but it'll be a game at that point. And maybe it's a game for 3 quarters and then Ohio State gets a late touchdown to pull away. That's fine. But in my book, that's, you know, there are no moral victories in football. Sure. Okay. But in my book, that's proof right there that Kurt Campbell and Wink Martindale need to come back next year. And we need to keep the foundation of the coaches that we have right now and build on that with the roster that's coming in next year. The way that Michigan wins this game, though, I don't know if Will Johnson's coming back. I think they said he might. And then Colston Loveland, I think, is also on his way back. But they have to possess the ball and they have to have a strong running game themselves. I think that whoever holds onto the ball the longest is going to win. And Michigan has an offense right now. Well, Michigan has an offense that has been able to do that in the past, not this year. And I understand that probably means not on Saturday, but the pieces are there. The coaching is there. There is a possibility. Like, there is a way that Michigan wins this game. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, like, man, it's really hard. It's really hard to make connections between last year and this year with Michigan. Michigan had an all-star coaching staff. Look at what Jesse Minter's doing in the NFL. Yeah. He's the number one in terms of allowing points with their defense. That just tells you that he was that great. Yeah. You know, Jim Harbaugh, my brother said to me yesterday, he's like, Rob, like, How does the dude just do it? He just shows up to an NFL team, and they're 7-8-3. You know, he has a knack for getting teams to turn around. He took Clink. He took who's it? Steve Clinksale with him.
Yeah, Clink. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Chris Partridge is with Mike McDonald. I mean, there you go, Mike McDonald. He's having some success as well. So Harbaugh pulled in the right coaches and everything. You know, I just, from what I've seen from Michigan this season, I just feel like their players weren't put in the best positions to win. You know, it seemed look kind of lost out there. Maybe this was a scenario against Northwestern where, you know, some things are starting to click, but that's just like what I've seen a good amount of the season, except, you know, Wink having his NFL experience and stuff. He seems like the most sound out of them all. Yeah, he's blitz happy. Yeah, the secondary, well, that's on the secondary coach. I don't even know. Isn't the secondary coach Lamar Morgan?
Yeah.
I think it is. But, you know, I think he's the most sound coach on the in terms of coordinators. But, you know, it's kind of hard to find this, you know, connection the last season. I know like good amount of Michigan fans are still like holding on to that. There's a big difference between, you know, last year's offensive line, this year's offensive line. There's a big difference between Khalil Mullings and Blake Corum. But I will say the defense is where it's going to have to be at. And, you know, and I'm going to make a bold prediction right here. I know that the game has been won by whoever has the most rushing yards. I just don't think that's going to be the case this year. I think that, you know, I'm looking at that stat line for Michigan's passing defense. Now in the past, like last year, you know, Michigan picked us off like 2 times. They had really physical corners coming up, really fit, like Rob Moore. That was a big loss. You also had Michael Barrett. You know, they have like the 90th best passing defense in the country, and you know, if Ohio State can't get it going on the ground game enough, I think that they're going to have to turn to they're obviously going to have to turn to their passing game. So I think this year it's going to be an anomaly, but I think this year it's not going to be who has the most rushing yards.
Let me ask a pointed question.
This will be the only year though. It's going to be an anomaly.
I would agree if that happens, Rob. I actually think that's a pretty fantastic point. And when you said that on text, I was like, no. Then I was like, maybe.
Maybe.
But let me ask this question. Pointed question. I wanted to get in one, and this piggybacks off you, Rob, unless you got something to say. But I was going to say, to get into the specifics of 2024, one, my Michigan friends are not talking smack, and it's ticking me off, man. I want to be talked to like I'm lost 3 years in a row.
Well, you did.
Yeah, we did.
Suck.
You did.
Well, it happened in 2023, and they made me stand up in church with a Michigan hat on. So,
that's
true.
But now,
right there.
But well, he's not even a Michigan fan. He's a Chicago Bears fan more than a Michigan fan. But anyway,
well, that's just silly.
It is kind of, well, he grew up in Texas, and everybody hates the Cowboys, so he didn't like them. And then he moved to Chicago, and the Bears won that Super Bowl in '85, so he picked the Bears, and he's somehow stuck with them. Anyway, moving back to this game, 2024, when Ohio State has the ball, what should their attack be? We know Amir, what is it, Hall or Hill? I can never remember.
Amir Hall.
I like him a lot, by the way.
Yeah.
But no, that's rude. Anyway, how should Ohio State attack Michigan's defense? We know what their weaknesses are. I feel like that's fairly obvious to everybody who watches, both Ohio State and Michigan fans. I think you know. Jeremiah Smith, Henderson, G. Scott, Emeka Egbuka, Travion, Quinshawn, we have weapons on weapons.
Darnell Tate.
Will Howard, like you said, Mac, to your point, I wanted Dylan Gabriel or Cam Ward. I'll be 100% honest. That's who I wanted. I did not want Will Howard. I did not, and I love him, not only because of his play, because of his leadership. And I think that's the biggest reason we got him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. I think, honestly, I think all Ohio State really has to do on offense is just not get complacent. I don't think if Will Howard makes a couple of errant throws, then that's just going to keep Michigan in it. But in my opinion, it's actually fairly easy to attack the Michigan defense, and you do that by keeping the offense off the field. The more you attack the interior of Michigan's defensive line, as soon as you tire out Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant, you've won the game. Because if Michigan's offense can't stay on the field and Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant are both tired, the game is over. You can run, you can keep on running, you can waste clock, you probably won't even need to score a ton of points, but it's just at that point, Michigan can't do anything. The way Michigan combats that is going to end up being a lot of blitzing, which is just going to leave the secondary open. So you run a lot of RPOs. Will Howard's probably going to need to keep the ball a few times. It's going to keep Michigan off balance. And I think that's where Michigan's going to need to get creative on the defensive line and figure out some way to get penetration on Will Howard before he can make a decision or disrupt it somehow or another, maybe force some false starts or something like that. But I think, honestly, that attacking Michigan's defense is fairly easy, and you do that by just keeping Michigan's offense off the field.
That's a good point. That's what I saw during the Texas game. I remember the end of the first quarter, and I see Mason Graham pretty much heavy breathing, hands on the hips, and bent over like he's tired. I'm like, man. And here's the thing, though, too. Texas played it really good. They're like, you know what? Screw this. We're not gonna run down the middle. We're gonna tire them out on the outside. We're gonna work their edges, and they did.
Yep.
So you got a good point about being able to penetrate Michigan's defense. But other question, what is for Michigan's offense going to be able to combat Ohio State's defense? What is one thing? I mean, let's say that the run game gets just shut down. What do you expect? What kind of plays do you expect from their passing game? What's going to have to happen if Ohio State makes Michigan one-dimensional?
I think it's so like Matt Crawford was agreeing there in the chat saying Ohio State will double team Mason Graham to tire out that defense. I'm almost thinking that, and I'm really not sure if this is a good strategy or not. I just like to throw these things out there. I think if Ohio State is anywhere near the 50 or on the other side of the 50, they should go for it on every fourth down. Just never punt. And I think that'll be a really quick way to wear out Michigan's defense. Because like you guys said, they were getting gassed in a lot of those games. Even the games they were winning, the defense was getting gassed in. So yeah, I would almost just never punt. Go for it on every fourth down. I mean, if they're making fourth down plays against Indiana, they can surely make fourth down plays against Michigan.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Go on. Sorry, Mac.
Well, no, I was just gonna say, in terms of if Michigan's offense gets one-dimensional, though, which I think it's kind of interesting. They're not one-dimensional, but that's only because they're not really that good at anything. It's
we gotta give Mongs credit. He's been, for a linebacker. For a running back, he's been good.
Yeah. Mullings has been good. Edwards has had a lot of good runs lately. Davis Warren has actually looked pretty good too. It's been later in the season that they've started to come alive, and so. I mean, look, also, I'm sorry, Mac, but like you're saying with Davis Warren, it's what's been nice too is that, after the first 3 games, he didn't do very well. And then he's out for the next 3 games or 2 games. But then when he came back, he started making throws where he was threading the needle every single time.
I mean, he was making throws and I'm like, I can't figure out why he even did it, but he was through one guy's arms and into the Michigan receiver. So I think Warren has figured something out. They've got a lot going on offense. And then you saw against Northwestern when they did finally make a hole for Donovan Edwards, he was getting through.
Yeah.
And breaking away for those big plays. But anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I think the way that you make Michigan's offense one-dimensional, though, is just play sound in your secondary. Make sure that the receivers are covered. Receivers, even against Northwestern, were having trouble getting open. I understand that the passing game looked a lot better. I mean, Davis Warren put up 200 yards. That's got to be like a season high, right? But I think that you play sound in your secondary and then force Michigan to have to run the football and then just let your defensive line, which Ohio State's defensive line is very good, let them make the stops where necessary. I think if you can start to throw Michigan a little bit off kilter, then it's really at that point, it's just going to be a matter of time. The interesting dynamic of this game, though, and I understand a lot of people on Twitter have an issue with this, is that, Michigan has nothing to lose. Well, yeah, kind of. And I kind of hope that they go into the game feeling that way. I hope that I think that that's actually probably the catalyst to winning this game, is believing, yeah, there's nothing to lose. So we're just going to do anything and everything we can and just see what happens, because we're fully expecting this to be a blowout. So if it's anything less than a blowout, we're going to be pleasantly surprised. If they win, we're going to be erecting statues of Davis Warren and Sharon Moore in solid gold and planting them right outside Schembechler Hall, and then, setting up flowers and stuff like that on them. So they don't have anything to lose. I understand this is the game, and it's extremely important. You have to beat Ohio State. You have to beat Michigan. You have to care. But reality is Ohio State is the far superior team 9 out of 10 times. Is this the one time that Michigan can roll the dice and somehow or another get it done? I don't know. But that's kind of the mindset that I think they need to go into this game with. Is this game doesn't matter for our future. This game doesn't matter really in the long run at all. But if we win it, then everyone's going to be just extraordinarily surprised. And so,
unless like we were saying earlier, unless it's a complete disaster.
Yeah. Well,
if Michigan gets humiliated, then we've got another problem.
Yeah, but what is humiliation at this point? Because even if Ohio State wins like 50-0, you can still just chalk that up to, like, Ryan Day was on a mission, and Ryan Day had the players to get it done, and Ryan Day also said he was going to do this. So,
yeah. Did you, speaking of Ryan Day, did you guys see that interview? He said, besides my father dying when I was 9, losing to Michigan has been the worst thing in my life. I'm just like,
for my family. Yeah. For my family.
I gotta tell you, I gotta give him some grief for that, because he said it the other way around. He said, this is like the worst thing. Well, aside from losing my father, this is the worst.
Did say that. He did say that.
It was like an afterthought. And then he puts this game on the same list as losing his father. I'm almost thinking that this man is crying for help, and Michigan fans are the only ones who see it.
I think that's so interesting. I grimaced a little bit, but I think he's so hyper focused. He was like, wait a second. Wait a second. My father passing, blah, 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 and then he said, like, for my family. I think his son, Ryan, or not, whatever his son's name is, RJ, I think he's a freshman in high school. He just broke a record for his high school, by the way, at quarterback. Yeah, he broke a varsity record as a true freshman. So
nice.
Oh, dang. Okay.
So anyway, but I think he goes to school in Columbus, and everybody's like, your dad sucks. I'm going to burn your house down.
Ooh, all right.
Yeah, you mean like, yeah, you don't know if they're getting death threats, or because I'm not gonna lie, Ohio State fans are crazy.
Obsessed.
They're insane.
Well, that's the order of the day anymore. You say something somebody doesn't like, next thing you know, you're getting death threats. It's just what people do now.
Dumb.
Remember, have you guys seen the movie Friday Night Lights, right?
Yes, love it.
Yeah.
So
I have a feeling that it's like that. You lose a game, you go home, and there's all these for sale signs in your yard.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Now, he lived in a gated community, but they found a way. Trust me, they found a way.
Yeah.
They threw it over.
Yeah. So we have a bunch of kind of going off my next question.
Yeah.
So you guys are calling this a rebuilding year. We kind of touched upon this at the end of the team rivalry show. You guys call this rebuilding season. You know, you have 4 first round draft picks on the defensive side of the ball. One of them is sitting out. And you have a first round draft pick, possibly top 15 tight end, Colson Loveland. Edwards is going to get drafted, I think, like 3rd, 4th round. So you call this a rebuilding season. What's next season going to look like when they're gone? What are we going to be seeing? I know it's the season's not even over, but I find it surprising.
Yeah,
that
it is. For Michigan, it is.
It's called the rebuilding season because you still have the talent there. Is it rebuilding in terms of coaching, or is it rebuilding players as well? I know that there was a lot of players lost after the national championship team, but the first round talent's still there. So what's next season going to look like?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's part of the deal here that we've been dealing with. Is it's almost like Harbaugh ripped off a Band-Aid. We thought that maybe that was going to be the coaches were being coached up, the players are being coached up, and it would be kind of a smooth transition, but it looks a whole lot more like Harbaugh left, ripped off a Band-Aid, took some of the great coaches with him, and the players were kind of left with, I think you guys said it earlier, like they're a bit confused as to what to do this season.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you're right. It's rebuilding in terms of coaches trying to figure out what they're doing, because they had incredible leadership last year. Like we've said, that coaching staff last year was generational.
Yeah, it was good.
And this year they're kind of on their own. It's like they got kicked out of the nest, the Band-Aid ripped off, whatever other metaphor we can put in there. And so they've got to rebuild. The players we have to rebuild. Like Mac was saying, the cupboards were bare, so we have to rebuild there. We already know that now that we've got Bryce Underwood coming in, it looks like that's kind of opened. I don't know if the floodgates have opened, but it seems like since Bryce Underwood committed, we've gotten a couple other guys announcing, and Michigan is looking at a top 5 recruiting class next year potentially.
Yeah, they're 9 right now.
9, so top 10 at least.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of, so are these coaches really getting it together? Like I said, you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have the coaches to coach them, what does it matter?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's weird. It's not so much a rebuilding year. If there's another level in there, it's like a
reset.
Reset, rebuild. They've got the talent, they've got the coaches. I mean, the coaches have been part of a national championship team. Those players have been part of a national championship team. They know what they're supposed to do. They just have to find that secret sauce to make it all work.
Let me interject with a question of my own that piggybacks of what you just said, Mac, and your question, Rob, as well. Getting back to focus to this game and this season, I do agree with you, Mac, that the players have the championship pedigree. They know the requirements and what a championship team, 1, what the sacrifice looks like, 2, what the effort looks like, and 3, what the coaching looks like. And we already talked about the coaching. We did talk about that. But let's talk about what it means if they perform well and what it means if they don't perform well. And then a second question, whoever wants to go first, answer this second question as well. When Michigan has the ball, Loveland destroyed us last year. Steel Chambers and Eichenberg are great run stuffers. They were terrible in coverage. 2 thumbs Tommy, my favorite linebacker since maybe James Laurinaitis or Raekwon McMillan, could not cover anybody, okay? Especially not Colston Loveland. And Loveland is still on the team. How does Michigan attack? And if they play well, what does it mean for the transfer portal and convincing tight ends, convincing wide receivers, convincing a backup quarterback maybe?
Oof. If Michigan plays well against Ohio State?
Yes. What would that mean?
Yeah.
Would they be able to use that and say, hey, We did this against America's number 1 or 2, whatever they are, defense. What can you do for Michigan? What can Brown do for you?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so I think that it would present recruits a proof of concept, like I was mentioning earlier. Like if Michigan plays halfway decent against Ohio State, then Sharon Moore can go in the living room of any recruit and say, look, we had a plan. We just didn't have the guys to make it work. We need you because you are the people, you are the guy that's going to get us to the promised land or get us back there anyway. And so I think that if Michigan puts up a good game against Ohio State, even if it ends as a 2 or 3 score game, if Michigan puts up a fight, then I think that Michigan will need to fill some holes in the transfer portal over the coming year. I think that they'll probably need to bring in a tight end. They might need to bring in a couple of O-linemen.
Okay.
And I quarterback, I go back and forth because like they've got Jaden Davis. They're going to need to give him some snaps. And then with Bryce Underwood coming in, I understand he's a true freshman. Maybe he's not ready yet, but he's going to need to get some playing time too. If they bring in a transfer quarterback and knock him down to 3rd string, I don't know. What does that look like for his future? So my thing is that they'll probably need to plug some holes for next year, but I don't know that next year is actually going to be that great either. Yeah. So my thinking for next year is it's still a young team. It's the this freshman class that's coming in should be as good as Michigan's ever had. It should be as good as the national championship team. Yeah. They just need time to get there. So 2024 sucks. 2025, I think you're looking at probably an 8-4, maybe 9-3 type season. 9-3 would be the ceiling. I think they go to a bowl game. I think there's not much of a question there. Yeah. I think 2026 is where, when this class grows up and becomes juniors, I think this is really where things will start to shine. And it's at that point anyway that I would need to see the progress that Sharon Moore is making with this team to know whether or not he's the long-term answer at head coach. Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's what I would say is if Michigan puts up a halfway decent game against Ohio State, I think the recruiting class is going to look good. I think transfers, there's something there, but I still don't think 2025 is going to be a great season.
Down in the comment section, Rob, I want your response to this real quick, and I appreciate that answer, Cliff or Mac. Sorry, my bad.
I'll pull up the comment.
No gray hair there. No gray hair for Mac yet. Sorry, Matt Crawford had a great comment. Loveland is elite. Would like to see him match up with Styles. Crawford is a great Buckeye friend and fan of the channel. I believe Styles is one of the best PFF Pro Football Focus pass defending linebackers in the country. Styles is our secret weapon versus Loveland and has been versus good tight ends all season. I don't know, and that's why we moved him to linebacker and we got Caleb Downs because we needed an athlete. Chambers, like I said, Chambers and Eichenberg, great run stuffers. Styles is a great pass coverage. And a good run stuffer and a good blitzer, not just 2 of the 3, like Chambers and Eichenberg were.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State's defense is stacked. I think you could say how does Ohio State match up against Colston Loveland? Like, I think it's fairly easy. You've got a lot of players. Yep. They can double team them. They can figure something out. Yep. It's really not going to be that difficult. I think the difficult thing is if Michigan somehow or another figures out a way to be effective on the ground. Because if they can be effective on the ground and Davis Warren can throw the ball a little bit, then all of a sudden Michigan's going to get a little plucky. They're going to get a little confident and crazy things could happen. And that's not to say that all of a sudden Michigan's going to totally run away with it at that point. Like, oh yeah, if Davis Warren can complete 5 passes in a drive, then Michigan's totally going to win. No, that's not the case.
Right. That's not going to happen.
No, it's not. That probably not. But I think the thing is that from a talent and a roster standpoint, I heard that from a talent and a roster standpoint, the Colston Loveland matchup is not really what I'm concerned about for Ohio State. For Ohio State, it's just keep your heads on straight and don't do anything stupid, and you should be fine.
Here's the thing. Going back to last year for just a half second before we move back to the future, and score predictions are coming soon, by the way, so be prepared. Or not, because your show is tomorrow night, so Hold your.
Yeah,
Oh,
let's
that's true.
keep the scores for tomorrow, you guys.
I'm gonna say mine. Well, I'm gonna say mine because nobody's watching. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, everybody else can keep scores for tomorrow, and keep the tension. But 2023, I feel like Michigan did that well. They ran the ball just well enough. Ohio State won the battle in the first half, 37 rushing yards to 34. If I remember, I saw a Facebook memory. That's the only reason I remember that.
It wasn't a lot. Yeah, I think you're right.
And then Michigan had like 170 at the end of the game. Ohio State had like 140 or 150. And JJ McCarthy did JJ McCarthy things on third downs. It ticked me off every time. I knew it was going to happen, and it still happened.
Yeah.
And because you had is that his name? Roman Wilson and Cornelius Johnson, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
You don't have those guys.
No.
Nobody on your team is reliable on third down. At the wide receiver, Colson Loveland's not either, only because nobody else is a threat.
Right.
So third and long becomes an automatic punt. And I saw it versus Oregon, the game I was at. I had great seats, but then I moved to the third row and had even better seats. And then I saw. Here's the thing. I'm getting to my point. I'm sorry. I'm rambling. I saw Davis Warren make an elite throw or two or three, and I was like, where the frick has that been? You know what I also saw on the last possession where they did the end around and what's his name? Orgy got crushed by the camera.
Oh,
yeah.
Reverse pass. Dude, you ran on 3rd and goal from the 10. I was like, what?
Yeah.
That's okay. So that play calling is indefensible. And that's one of the enigmas of Kurt Campbell, is that he can have that type of a game. Like, where did that play call come from? Where did that whole series come from? Why are we running on 3rd and 10? What is with the end around on 4th down? Like, that made no sense.
For real.
But then he's got a game like what he's got against Northwestern. And I feel the best construction you can put on something like this is that we're watching this young coaching staff grow up in real time. And so they're growing up this year. They're trying to figure out what they're doing. And then next year they're going to be better, but they're going to have a young roster. And then the year after that, they're going to be better, but the roster is even going to be better too. And then it just kind of starts to get better from there. So I think that everybody's learning. I don't love that they're cutting their teeth at Michigan. Yeah. But I think if you give them time and things continue progressing in a reasonable manner, then there's something really special with this core of coaches here, because they've seen the national championship. They've seen how to get there. They've learned from Jim Harbaugh.
Yes.
They need to do it themselves now.
Let me say,
that's where I think the Harbaugh effect there is coming into play, because even though we're having sort of this, even though, like Mac, you were saying, even though they're like learning all of this stuff in game and all of that, they're still 6-5. And I think there's got to be something to say about that, because you have essentially a new staff and a young team, and they're still 6-5, and we've played we've played Oregon, Texas, and Indiana, these top 10 teams. Mm-hmm. And, granted, they didn't win, but we're still 6-5. And they've been tested by these teams. So there's something there. And I think part of the reason I'm bringing that up is because, and this is a question for all three of you, because I don't know how this works. With this sort of mediocre season, and a lot of, Ohio State fans and MSU fans were saying that Michigan's never going to be able to recruit. Bryce Underwood is never coming to Michigan. But now we're seeing Michigan get these recruits. Number 1, Bryce Underwood, a number 9 recruiting class so far. How is that happening if Michigan is playing the way they're playing?
Yeah. We're in a new era of college football. We're seeing teams being able to finally come together, maximize NIL, and teams who shouldn't be getting these players are getting these players. How the heck is Billy Napier in Florida still getting how are they in the top 10 recruiting class? Okay. You also have, Miami getting these players that they have no business getting. That being said, I think we're going to see a lot more players take the bag over, seeing, okay, this is the best option for me for getting to the pros. But yeah, I'm not going to go off and ramble. I just think we're in a new era of college football where a lot of players are going to go for the financial situation.
But aren't they running a risk there? I mean, if you're a great player or if you're a great recruit and you get on a bad team, you might shine for a bit, but you're going to, unless you're really, really, really focused, you're going to start to, fall to the lowest common denominator, basically. So you might still be the best guy on the team, but you're not going to look NFL worthy if you're on a bad team that it brings you down.
I mean, I don't think they're a bad team. I don't think
not necessarily in this case, not necessarily Michigan, but you're talking about any team like Miami. There are teams that are getting recruits that they have no business getting. And then from the player's standpoint, so let's say, let's just go back to Bryce Underwood. Let's say Michigan is 6-5. and they end up recruiting Bryce Underwood. Isn't he taking the risk that he's going to make $1 million now, but he might lose his qualities as a great quarterback because he's playing for a bad team, and then he won't look good to the NFL? Because if you want to be in the NFL, you want the best coach. That's why Nick Saban got all the best players. That's why Harbaugh was getting good players, because they knew that he could get them to the NFL. So if you don't have that kind of faith in Sharon Moore, what are you doing taking $1 million from the team to never play in the NFL?
Real quick, let me interject. I got to go. I got to jump off. It's been 1:06 and the pizza will burn that I made. So
oh no,
we cannot have that because bedtime is in about 45 minutes. So answer that question that Crawford just said as I depart. But I'm going to say my prediction now, and I'll say it again for tomorrow with reasoning and with explanation. Rob and I fully disagree on this one, okay? We do. We fully disagree, just like we fully disagree for Indiana. I think it's a blowout. I think Ryan Day takes 3 years of wrath, maybe 4 because 2020 didn't happen, and he drops the biggest napalm bomb in Ann Arbor, even though the game's in Columbus. Got to keep your team safe.
It'll be felt in Ann Arbor if that's the case.
It'll be felt in Ann Arbor. 45-10 is my prediction. It'll be like either 2010, Rich Rod's last year, or 2008, Rich Rod's first year. Is 42-7 and 42-10 respectively. This is 45-10. I don't see it being close. I'll explain a lot more tomorrow night. I got to jump. My apologies. Rob, finishing out. Make sure that they, once again, like we introduced, you let them know where you can find Cliff and Mac over on YouTube, our good friends here on YouTube. Catch you guys later. Thanks again for being on. We'll see you on the next one. Go Bucks and God bless.
Thanks for having us on. See you tomorrow.
See ya.
man.
Yeah. But all right, in this I got like 5-7 more minutes left. But who wins? Let's answer this question that Crawford had. Who wins in a 2024 Ohio State versus 23 Michigan? Who does
23
it?
Michigan, and it's not close.
Yeah, I gotta say, I think it's 23 Michigan too. They were just unstoppable.
You know what, Buckeye Nation, you're gonna hate me, but that 23 Michigan team was really special.
Yeah, it's because of Ohio State's offensive line. Like they've got it made everywhere else. It's just I think it's because of Ohio State's offensive line. Like I think Ohio State's going to take care of business this time around. But if it were against last year's team, Michigan's just way too strong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and Michigan was just absolutely controlling those games. There was very little question last year. I mean, I think J.J. McCarthy barely played past the first couple of minutes of the third quarter in every single game.
Yeah.
And that's all of the starters barely played past the first couple of minutes. It was just they just dominated everybody.
Yeah, I agree. But I will say this before we get off. any Buckeye fans who think that, oh, Ohio State's going to win and they're going to go on a 7-game tear, get that out of your minds. They may win this game, but I think it's going to go back and forth for the next, especially with the recruiting classes. I think it's going to go back and forth for, years and years. But I just think this Ohio State team it's a lot different than I've seen in the past. Ryan Day is turning the page and making more gutsier calls. He's surrounded by the right people, kind of like Harbaugh was. He's surrounded himself with the right people. I see a love for each other and playing for your brothers on that sideline. And I see a lot more leaders, a lot more physicality. And, the big thing is going to be those wide receivers. Marvin Harrison Jr. did a great job for Ohio State, but he did not like to block. Neither did Olave, neither did Wilson, neither did JSN. These wide receivers are different. So I just see this different mentality, different attitude. So, yeah.
I've noticed that as well. Yeah, Ohio State looks like a different team this year. I mean, they've always been good, under Ryan Day, but like this year, there just feels like there's something a little bit different. Like when they get punched in the mouth, they don't panic. They respond. I think in prior years they've had the talent to just take every team to the fourth quarter or blow them out. But like when they get punched in the mouth by Michigan, actually last season when they got punched in the mouth by Michigan, they responded pretty well. But in those, the 2022 season, 2021, they got punched in the mouth a couple of times. They didn't really have a response. This season, it feels like they've been punched in the mouth a couple of times. Nebraska, of all teams, got them at one point, and they responded very well. So, yeah, I definitely agree with what you're saying.
Well, and even the Oregon game was only a 1-point game. So
right.
Yeah, definitely. But it was great having you on, guys. Another great show. Looking forward to tomorrow's pigskin pick 'em. But do you guys want to give your guys socials where everyone can find you before we head off?
Yeah, well, first, thanks for having us on the show. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. These guys have been on our show so many times. Just really good to be on. Like I said, really good to be on this side of it. You can find me on X at Dog Team Rivalry. That's DAWG Team Rivalry, which gets harder and harder to say. That rivalry word is just weird. And then we're on YouTube, youtube.com/@Team Rivalry. You can find our show over there. Mac and I also do the Point a Minute show on Michigan football at the Voice of College Football, which comes out on Tuesday mornings. There's one out right now that was doing pretty well. Yeah, I think that's everywhere you can find me. Mac, go ahead.
Well, I think that's it, right? My handle is at Big Team. Is it B1G Team Rivalry? I can't ever remember.
That's
also,
it.
We're on YouTube. Just go to the YouTube channel, Big Ten Team Rivalry on YouTube. That's
All
it,
right, man. Yeah, that's it. That's it, you guys. All right. Well, we'll see you guys tomorrow on the Big Ten Team Rivalry show. Great having you guys on. Thank you for coming on the show. It's always a great time.
Yeah, thanks for having us on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
All right, you guys. Later.
Take care.